I was engaging in self-pleasure since I was around 8 years old. Just kind of figured it out on my own. And then a couple years later, you get a smartphone or an iPod or a laptop for Christmas, Nintendo DS, whatever it was. And you start to find the video sites and the pictures and all those things. And by the time I was entering my teenage years, I was fully addicted to pornography. And that was with me throughout my entirety of my teenage years into adulthood. It dramatically affected the way I viewed myself and the way I viewed others, especially the way I viewed women. It dramatically limited my cognitive abilities, my confidence, my ability to focus, my ability to be productive, my ability to accomplish things, because I always had that instant dopamine button I could press pretty much at any time. I remember my summer years where for about 12 hours a day, I'd play video games, and then every couple hours or so I'd tell my friends I'm going to eat. I'd take off my headset, I'd load up a video, do that for an hour, get back on the game, and the cycle repeated for the entirety of the summers. While obviously I wouldn't change anything for the world, because all of my failures, all of my struggles had led to the wisdom I have now and the ability I have now and the opportunity I have now to help people, sometimes I can't help but wonder what I would be like, where I would be in life if I wasn't plagued with such an addiction. Because it really is an addiction, it really is a drug. There is no debate around it. The science is there. The way it affects your brain is easily able to be researched online. And anyone who says it's not a problem, it's okay, everyone does it, you can't be addicted to it, is either extremely ignorant because they lack the education, or willfully ignorant and just have this cognitive dissonance because they don't want to accept the fact that they are addicted to something harmful. They don't want to give it up. And speaking of giving it up, it took me a very long time to do so. That's not to say I didn't have my little moments where I would go a couple days, a couple weeks, sometimes even a couple months once I really started to take it seriously, but I always went back to it. And that is the story for the majority of men. For the majority, if not all of their lives. It was around 2021 where I was evolving from just being into the gym in terms of self-improvement to actually understanding self-improvement as a whole and all of the bad habits I had, the inability to focus, the lack of being where I want to be in life in terms of financially, in terms of socially, in terms of just mentally, how I felt about myself. My self-esteem was still really low. I was still riddled with social anxiety. A lot of that was stemming from the pornography and just overstimulation in general. And that was when it entered my awareness that this is something that I need to stop doing. And I would try, and I would try, and I would try, and I would go, maybe a week. And then it'd be funny, I remember I'd go maybe a week or two of just trying to retain, but slowly I began coping to myself. My brain began selling me the idea of, oh, well, let's just look at it and not actually, do the thing. Okay, well, let's just look at it and do the thing, but let's not go to completion. Loophole after loophole, lie after lie, I would tell myself, and the cycle repeats. Then eventually you do it fully, get that wave of chemicals that rush over you, that wave of shame, that post-nut clarity. You're like, oh, this is the last time. I'm actually done for real. And it happens again and again and again. That cycle went on for a couple years. Admittedly, even at first when I started making self-improvement videos and talked about the negative effects of pornography, I hadn't fully beaten it. I wanted to help others beat it. I was fully against it, but I myself was not fully done and never truly quit. And I tried every method in the world, watched all the nofap videos, all the creators. None of that works, by the way. As I'm going to explain in this video, I'm going to explain how I actually quit for good and forever. But you have to understand that the idea of nofap itself is extremely problematic. Because when you're engaging in nofap, and you're part of the nofap community, and you're counting your days and celebrating when you get a 10-day streak free, what are you really telling yourself subconsciously? I am someone who's addicted to this thing, but oh my gosh, by really just discipline or the miracle of God, I've gone 10 days without it. What do you think that's going to result in? When deep down subconsciously you know that that door is still open. The door to that world is still open. You never closed it. You exited the room for a little bit, but the door is cracked over there, staring at you. And at any moment you could peek inside that door, open the door a little bit, step back inside, step back out. Okay, I'm actually done this time. But you never truly close it and lock it and throw away the key. That was me. And I tried so many different methods, and the closest I got was actually the method that I'll link it in the description if you want. It's my guide to quitting pornography because it gets you to the point that I'm going to explain getting to in this video, ideally. But I began to realize that, funny enough, it sounds depressing, but it was actually what gives you all the power in the world to quit. But I realized that I didn't truly want to give it up forever. I wanted the focus increase, the confidence increase, the self-esteem increase from going a couple weeks without it, a month without it even. But I never wanted to give it up forever, and thus I always went back to it, because that door was always open. And I realized, every time I relapsed, I was like, I'm doing this because I want to. It's not the industry, the big bad people that control that industry. It's not their fault. It's not social media's fault for making things so easily accessible. It's not my partner's fault for not being physically available as I wanted her to be, which was my own fault actually, because our relationship wasn't very good. But no, it was just me. I did it because I wanted to. And if you're still struggling with it, you have to accept that the reason you do it, the last time you did it, the next time you do it, is because you truly want to and you're deciding to. You decide to the moment you decide, I'm just going to take a little peek. Oh, I'm just going to look at this girl's profile on Instagram. Oh, I'm just going to watch this clip real quick. It's not going to result in anything. Oh, I'm just going to go on Twitter. Or 4chan. Or Reddit. Oh, I don't know what I'll end up seeing there. I'm just going to go and scroll for fun. And then you go to that dopamine slip inside that takes you all the way through to a full relapse. And you're like, oh my gosh, well, how could this have happened? You know, you pity yourself, you're frustrated with yourself, you're so upset, you're so depressed. It's funny, you're LARPing. I was LARPing as if I was someone who wanted to quit. I was lying to myself because that felt better than just admitting that this was something I wanted to do. No, I'm on self-improvement. I'm working towards quitting. I'm going to quit soon. Therefore, oh, yeah, I relapsed, but it's just a little hiccup in the journey, you know? That's infinitely more comfortable to tell yourself than telling yourself, I did that because I want to. I am not yet the person, the version of myself, the higher version of myself, that doesn't do that, that doesn't want to do that, that will never do that again. But the moment you accept that, even if you're not done with it, even if you haven't shut the door and threw away the key, that's when you begin to hand yourself the power to quit. And it wasn't until I reached a point where I had such a clear picture of what I wanted my future life to look like, what I wanted my future self to look like, that higher version of myself, as well as all the pain from being addicted to it for 10 years. The pain of knowing that if I keep this in the picture, no matter how little, how infrequent, I'm going to be on my deathbed and I'm going to realize I should have quit that at 16 years old, 18 years old, 20 years old. One of the biggest lies I would tell myself, though, was, oh, well, things are going good, my YouTube channel's going good, I'm making more money, my life's going good, socially I'm going good, my relationship's going good. I can get away with it today, and then I'll be done. It's crazy how our minds lie to ourselves. And it's also your fault for that, because you choose to identify with those thoughts. You're not your thoughts. You're not your thoughts. Don't think of think of the phrase, I want to throw a baby off a cliff. Oh, you just thought about that phrase. So you're a type of person that throws babies off cliffs, right? Well, no, obviously not. But that thought popped into your head. Huh. It's the same thing with all these thoughts that pop into your head of PMO, really. Because what happens is when you try to quit, it's like there's this past self. It really is your past self, but I think a better analogy is it's like you have a little monster in your brain, and this monster is fed by the dopamine you get from PMO. And when you start weaning off, when you try to use it less, you're starving that monster to death. And imagine if you were being starved to death or killed by someone. You would say or do anything to save your life. And that's what that monster does. It gives you any thoughts, any possible justifications, any tricks to put you in the situation where you're going to do it again, because it gets fed and it doesn't die. And yet the only way for you to be done with it truly forever is for it to die, for that current version of yourself, for that monster within you to die. And no one's going to save you from that. No one's going to kill that monster for you. There is no nofap video that is going to make you stop doing it. Not mine, not Hamza, not any of these other gurus. No coaches. They might help. They might give you some information about it. I've definitely gotten the best protocol, I would say, to fully quitting. I'll link it in the description. You don't have to do that. Like, you can do it on your own. But if you wanted it, to like a couple hours of videos you just fully watch, and then at the end you quit. But even for that to work, you have to already want to quit. It's like you want to quit, so I teach you how to shut the door, lock it, and throw the away key. Well, I do believe everyone has that ability within them to quit. Most of you watching this video aren't. Most of you watching this video will never break free from it. Now the thing is, you watching this that is feeling discouraged, that's not on me, that's on you, because you're perceiving yourself as that group instead of the group that is going to watch this and it's going to be a stepping stone for them to truly quit and break free of it forever. You relapse because you want to. You use it because you want to. Therefore, the only way for you to break free is to no longer want to do this thing. And it's really tricky to get to that point because most of us, me for years and years and years, most people in self-improvement, most people on nofap, we want to quit. You want to quit because then you'd quit and all the issues that come from it would be free. You'd be free from it. But you don't want to quit because you do it. Keep in mind, this is not like an addiction to alcohol where if you're really addicted to alcohol and you try to just quit cold turkey, you will literally get shakes and you could potentially die. It's not a chemical dependence in terms of like a heroin addiction or a prescription pill addiction. It's pixels on a screen. If I were to take you and throw you in a jungle where you had to survive for a month straight, all of a sudden you wouldn't even feel any withdrawals or any urges or anything like that because you'd be focused on something else because you have a higher purpose now to survive. There would be times when I was struggling where I would go to my Christian camp for a week and I wouldn't do it for a week straight. This thing that I couldn't go a day without doing 3 times, suddenly I could go a week without it. Because there was all the other things, because I didn't want to do it at the time. There's all these other things I could do instead that were infinitely better, and I was healthily distracted from it. This is not a video where I'm going to give you some 3-step protocol to break free from pornography. 10 nofap hacks. The nofap benefits timeline. Oh, once you get to 15 days, you start levitating and girls look at you in the eyes. Those videos are slop. Those videos do nothing for you. All you do when you watch those videos, think about it. What type of person watches those videos? Someone who is a porn addict, someone who wants to watch porn. So what are you telling your subconscious mind when you watch those videos? Well, ideally, the best way and the most healthy way for you to break free and actually want to never do it again would be to have this clear vision of the higher version of yourself and understand that that version of yourself doesn't do it, doesn't think about it, doesn't even consider it, doesn't take a peek. And then you step into that higher version of yourself. Because that's something massive with self-improvement and the subconscious mind is that you become that higher version of yourself internally before any externals catch up. For example, if I wanted to hit 1 million subscribers, I'm at 200K right now on my main channel. If I wanted to hit 1 million subscribers, I would become the 1 million subscriber Kenny. It could be 1, 2, maybe even more years in advance from actually getting that gold plaque in the mail. But internally, I'm that 1 million subscriber version of myself. That's the issue that a lot of people come into too when they, oh, I want to quit porn to get a girlfriend. I want to quit porn to be more confident. I want to get porn to do this, that, da. Stop relying on the externals. It's an internal shift. And you should be willing to quit and nothing changes. But you quit and you're never going to do it again because that's just who you are. Ideally, that's probably the most healthy way to go about it, but it didn't work fully for me. It doesn't work fully for a lot of people because for most of us, for us to truly want to quit is we have to generate immense amounts of pain within ourselves and associate it with PMO. That's what I had to do. I had to think about all the pain I felt every time I relapsed, every time I was praying to God to save me from this, every time it caused me to fall behind on my goals with YouTube, socially. You have to get to the point where it literally makes you sick to your stomach to think about you doing that ever again. And it creates such an intense desire that suddenly you actually want to quit. And you know what happens when you want to quit? You never do it again. Now, it's not saying in the future you could lose that want. It's something you have to maintain. You have to stay in that higher version of yourself. But like I said, it is shockingly easy to quit PMO. There's nothing physically restricting you. The mental restrictions are so minor. Oh, I got an urge. My brain, I got an urge to do it. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you sat with that urge for like 5-10 minutes, it would pass. If you weren't identifying with those thoughts, if you recognize that those thoughts that are appearing trying to get you to do it aren't actually you, you can wait it out. You can leave the environment you're currently in. You could take your laptop and put it in the closet. You could get off that website. Go outside, go for a walk, go for a run, whatever. You would do something that wouldn't result in you doing it because you don't want to do it. But if you want to do it, what happens? You stay in that situation. You listen to those thoughts. You start arguing with those thoughts. You start negotiating with those thoughts. And that ultimately will lead to a relapse. It's funny, I would be going for a really, really long streak, maybe. Let's say I'm on 2 weeks free from it. And then a thought pops in my head, and I kind of let it sit there. I kind of think about it. Maybe I fantasize about something, whatever. And maybe I just look a little too long at a picture on Instagram. But then that's it for the day. I didn't actually relapse. No, I'm free from that. But because I did that, maybe the next day, 2 days later, 3 days later, push a little further, I relapse. And I didn't lose the battle. I didn't relapse when I actually did the relapse. I relapsed the moment I let myself look at that picture, or argue with that thought, or identify with that thought. I sincerely hope that you can break free from it. Because it will, if it's something you exceptionally struggle with, it will change your life, probably more than anything else. I can't promise you that you'll do it. Because what I've realized, I've worked with plenty of people, I've helped plenty of people quit, but then I've had people that I've worked with, and I've given them all the resources, all the information in the world, and they still go back to it. And they'd be so ashamed they would stop interacting with me in the mentorship or in my mental mastery thing or anything like that. And you know why they're really ashamed? They're ashamed because they realize, whether consciously or subconsciously, they don't actually want to quit. You are what you tolerate. And if you're tolerating that in your life, if you're tolerating a relapse on porn every 3 days, that's you. I don't tolerate any of that anymore. Don't get me wrong, I'm still a man. I still have drive, sexual drive in that aspect and things like that. But the idea of doing that to myself and going online and finding whatever materials, that's not me. That version of myself is dead. Thank God. Because that version of myself would have lived the rest of his life, and even in his old age, has thought, I could have been so much better. I could have been great. But I just wanted to do that thing. I'm rooting for you. I will link some resources in the description. I will link my guide to quitting, that I think it's 2 or 3 hour video thing series. But don't even click on that. Don't even consider doing that if you're not there. If that pain isn't high enough. Because you're going to go through it, you're not really going to pay attention, whatever. You're not going to do it, you're going to go back. And I'm not responsible for that. The internet's not responsible for that. The evil people that run that industry, they're not responsible for it. Modern women aren't responsible for it. It's just you. It's just you, my friend. And I'm rooting for you, and I hope that you can break free. Hope this helped.